Constantinople was protected by walls built to stop armies and a chain built to stop fleets. So, a 21-year-old sultan brought giant cannon to the walls, then moved his warships over land. It sounds invented, but it happened in 1453. Constantinople occupied one of the world's great strategic positions, a peninsula guarded by the Golden Horn, the Bosphorus, and the Sea of Marmara. But the city was older than its famous name. Centuries before Constantine, a Greek settlement called Byzantium stood beside these waters on the same commanding peninsula. In 330, Emperor Constantine transformed that ancient port into an imperial capital. Constantinople, the city of Constantine, became the center of the Eastern Roman world. By 1453, its empire had contracted dramatically. Yet Constantinople was not an empty ruin. Its inhabitants still called themselves Romans, and the city remained inhabited, culturally important, and strategically priceless. On land, attackers faced a moat, outer defenses, and towering inner walls. For centuries, this layered system had made direct assault extraordinarily difficult. But walls do not fall because of reputation. Mehmed spent a year building the siege before it began. Mehmed was only 21 in 1453, but he was not an untested child. He had already ruled once, lost the throne, and returned to power in 1451 after political upheaval. Constantinople was his greatest ambition, but the decision was not impulsive. Mehmed combined political calculation, engineering, logistics, artillery, naval power, and months of preparation. In 1452, he ordered Rumeli Hizara built at a narrow point of the Bosphorus, opposite an older Ottoman fortress on the Asian shore. The new stronghold tightened control of passing traffic and made assistance from the Black Sea far more dangerous. Geography had become part of the siege. Mehmed also assembled some of the largest siege guns of his age. Their real power, however, came from an entire artillery system: casting, transport, positioning, crews, ammunition, and sustained fire. Inside Constantinople, Emperor Constantine XI organized local Roman and Italian defenders, strengthened the walls, and secured the harbor chain. Then, in April 1453, preparation became pressure, and the walls proved far harder to break than legend remembers. The formal siege began on April 6th. Ottoman forces greatly outnumbered the defenders, whose active military strength is commonly estimated at roughly 7,000. Along the western approaches, batteries of different sizes began applying repeated pressure. The operation depended on roads, gun platforms, powder, stone shot, repair crews, and disciplined coordination. The great bombards could fracture ancient masonry and reopen damaged sectors. But they were slow to load, difficult to manage, and never a magical weapon that ended the siege with one shot. Repeated firing mattered more than spectacle. Whenever daylight bombardment tore openings in the defenses, teams worked through darkness, packing gaps with earth, timber, rubble, and anything else that could absorb the next impact. On April 18th, a major Ottoman assault was repelled. The abandoned ladders and damaged equipment outside the walls made one fact clear: the outcome was not inevitable. The harbor presented a different obstacle. A heavy chain across the mouth of the Golden Horn, supported by defensive vessels, blocked the Ottoman fleet from sailing directly inside. Then, on April 20th, 4 high-sided supply ships approached from the Sea of Marmara. Ottoman oared vessels tried to stop them before they reached the barrier. Despite the Ottoman effort, all 4 vessels broke through and entered the protected harbor with supplies. The siege's first great naval shock belonged to the defenders. To answer it, Mehmed had to defeat the chain without touching it. The breakthrough was more than an embarrassment. It showed that the blockade was incomplete and threatened Mehmed's authority while the city continued to resist. His answer was not to smash the chain. Ottoman planners examined the land behind Galata, north of the harbor, and prepared to bypass the entrance entirely. The exact engineering blueprint remains uncertain. A prepared timber route, cradles or rollers, ropes, manpower, and animal power offer a plausible explanation, but not a perfectly documented one. During the night of April 21st to 22nd, crews began hauling Ottoman vessels out of the Bosphorus and across the hills behind Galata. During the night of April 21st to 22nd, crews began hauling Ottoman vessels out of the Bosphorus and across the hills behind Galata. One by one, the vessels crossed above the harbor and descended toward the upper Golden Horn, inside the barrier designed to keep them out. At dawn on April 22nd, an Ottoman flotilla was floating behind the defenses. The chain was still in place. Mehmed had not broken it. He had made it irrelevant. Constantine's limited forces now had another wall to guard, and the psychological pressure intensified. But the famous maneuver did not conquer Constantinople. It created a new stalemate, and the siege continued for more than a month. The portage changed the siege's geometry. It gave the Ottomans new positions and divided the defenders' attention, but it did not open the city. Pressure increased, but victory did not. Greater control of the upper harbor improved Ottoman movement and coordination. A floating structure also supported operations there, while the main struggle remained at the land walls. Movement and communication became easier. Below ground, Ottoman miners tried to tunnel beneath the defenses. Roman specialists detected their passages, dug countermines, and repeatedly stopped the threat. The struggle below became another stalemate. Above ground, a large siege tower also failed. Cannon, mines, machinery, ships. Mehmed had changed methods repeatedly, and still the city held. Again, engineering met determined resistance. Yet every repair consumed materials and strength the defenders could not replace. Roman and Italian troops were exhausted, reinforcement remained inadequate, and critical sectors were wearing thin. A late surrender proposal failed. By late May, Mehmed faced the same choice as the city: negotiate, withdraw, or risk everything before time ran out. A late surrender proposal failed. By late May, Mehmed faced the same choice as the city: negotiate, withdraw, or risk everything before time ran out. Outside the walls, after nearly 8 weeks of siege, Mehmed prepared an assault in successive stages. Before dawn on May 29th, the final attack began. Giovanni Giustiniani, a central commander at the land walls, was seriously wounded and withdrawn. At the worst possible moment, an already exhausted defense lost crucial leadership. Artillery damage, repeated assaults, overwhelming pressure, and insufficient reinforcement finally combined. Ottoman forces broke through. Constantine XI remained with the defenders and died in the fighting. On May 29th, the siege ended. The city's most complicated chapter was only beginning. The fall of Constantinople ended the siege, but it did not bring immediate calm. In the first hours, many inhabitants faced uncertainty, displacement, loss, and the breakdown of ordinary life, human consequences that accompanied many medieval conquests. Contemporary accounts describe captivity, enslavement, ransom, and loss of life, although the numbers and exact sequence remain uncertain. As Ottoman authority was established and order gradually returned, the city began its difficult transition from a conquered capital to the center of a new empire. Yet Mehmed did not intend to preserve an empty battlefield. He entered a damaged city that he meant to possess, govern, and transform into an imperial capital. That required a functioning population. Hagia Sophia, the great imperial church, was converted into an Ottoman mosque. The change announced a new political and religious order, while the building itself continued to dominate the city. Mehmed moved to restore control and ordered repairs. Walls, water systems, markets, and public buildings mattered because a capital needed residents, trade, infrastructure, and daily life, not only military victory. Reconstruction became a political necessity. Repopulation followed through deliberate Ottoman policies over the following years. Muslims, Orthodox Christians, Armenians, Jews, and others became part of the developing Ottoman capital. The Orthodox Patriarchate was also restored. Over time, workshops reopened, markets expanded, and ships connected the harbor to an enormous imperial network. Constantinople became the working center of an expanding Ottoman state. The conquest did not produce an instant name change. Forms of Istanbul already existed in everyday speech, while Constantinople and Constantinia continued for centuries. The city did not become Istanbul in a single afternoon. Its names, people, and institutions changed over centuries, while 1453 remained one of history's defining turning points. Could any city have prepared for warships arriving over land? Tell us what surprised you most. And remember, the truth doesn't have to sound believable. This is Sounds Fake, but True.